but she's not muted.
Anyway, we're gonna go with the count.
It's showing that she's muted.
What's the count, Mr. Clerk?
6 yeas, no nays.
Okay, which is gonna bring us to item, number 9, is communication from the mayor, Mayor Waterman.
Excuse me, Mr. President, I'll have to excuse myself. I don't want to be involved with a conflict of interest by an injunction or it might be in process. Thank you, my colleagues.
Thank you,
Good
President.
night.
Am I still muted?
You're not muted now.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor Waterman?
Yes, this communication is a statement that was placed in your packet, but we also have Attorney Gibb here to explain to you. I know many of you have been wondering what the process has been since you signed, or had me sign the global settlement agreement for the Phoenix Center deal in November 17, 2020. As we're moving toward the closing, there has been many complex negotiations going on to finalize all the arrangements to close this deal, which is a three-party deal, very complex. And as you heard me say, I wanted to make sure, as we did that deal, we were negotiating other collateral securities and guarantees to have this finalized in the best interest of the city. So that's been going on, and we have Attorney Gibb here to explain that process to you. May I also explain what some of you thought, to explain the pro tem statement about his conflict of interest in this regard. We do believe he has one based upon something that he has introduced that has not been dealt with yet by the court. They are waiting to see if they're going to accept that, but Mr. Gibb can explain that as well. All right? Would you like to go forward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council President, you're muted. I don't want to speak to you.
Yeah, no, you're fine, Mr. Gibb. Before you get started, two things. In the mayor's comments, she mentioned that you guys are going to be negotiating to, I believe, the 21st, that you're going to give the council something on the 16th. On the 16th, that document needs to be final, so whatever the council is voting on, we know what it is. So whatever negotiations you guys are doing between the weeks, we need to know exactly what it is. I'm very concerned because we won't have any time to talk about the parking agreement or anything that we don't like in it, but it'll be what it is. But we need to have that final document, not something that's a draft or getting worked on.
Yeah, Council President.
Mr. Gibb.
Yeah, Council President, we're all in complete agreement on that. I think the most significant thing somewhat coincides with your earlier statement tonight, that there's always room for further negotiation. And when the first attempted filing of the injunction suit that Council Pro Tem Carter is directly involved with, there was a lot of activity about what was in the best interest of the city, and working with the mayor and working through the other parties. Everybody has come together to really make the deal better for the interest of the city. And the most significant, as indicated in the memo, is that the movement has been moved into a closing schedule. As you know, we, as a city, with your authority, we've already done several steps. We've completed the 2020 settlement payments, which is credited against the final closing amounts. In the global settlement, we've completed the conveyance at Purdue. All of the letter of credit placements with PNC Bank. Our good finance director, Darren Carrington, has that completely ready. We've really managed the escrow accounts in a favorable way. And so everything is in very, very sound and solid shape. We've agreed with all the parties. Is that the city will no longer have to that were originally intended to be secured and contract and various other security, including personal guarantees. And as we went through it, Mr. Stevens this into a scheduled closing. So one of the things that has to be done, as you're alluding to, Council President, that and reviewing the original authorizations and looking at this now without these additional factors that the city would be binding itself to, that it's important that there's a resolution that the city council authorizes the parking lease agreement as part of the closing package. So we had originally thought that that lease document could be included within the resolution that was authorized for the global settlement as well as the purchase agreement, but everybody's concluded that it's most appropriate if that document returns to your attention so that this council can have not only weigh in on its merits, but also looking at that resolution. So as I stated in the memo, that process has been ongoing with multiple parties. It's our anticipation to have the document in its final form. It would be in the regular packet materials so that there would be a handful of days, several days for you to review it. The final and absolute end of the closing schedule is February 26, which is 2 weeks from Friday. And so we do have a small but important amount of time to have this good council consider that. The ability to eliminate the co-borrowing, the land contract, the reliance on these personal guarantees, and to make this global settlement and the underlying purchase agreement move forward without that was a significant opportunity, and so we grabbed it. And Mr. Stevens was amicable and cooperative in extending this until February 26th to allow us to get this lease done. So that's where we're at. Everything's been memorialized. If any council person would like to talk to me, I'd be more than happy to share the progress. It's a weekly or daily process. Attorney George Contis from our city attorney firm, G. Marco Mullins, has been active as well. George would make himself available if there was anything else. So anticipation, Council President, Council, is that all of you would have a final document in the packet materials Thursday or Friday when you receive them. And then we would be prepared to go through as much detail next Tuesday at the council meeting as you want.
Okay, Attorney Sharp, but before I get her, I just want to say that everything that y'all pushed to vote at that special Saturday meeting, you guys have now taken out, and so I'm very happy about that, Mr. Gibbs, getting rid of the co-borrowing, which I voted no against, and getting rid of the other stipulation of the land contract, which were reasons that the original Dearborn Capital bill was terrible, and I voted no on it, but you guys rushed it through, but now we have the extension, so God is good. Attorney Sharp?
Okay, so with that, Attorney Gibbs, so I hear in terms of submitting to the council the agreement, the parking agreement. So my question is, are you going to submit the entire actual global settlement? Because yes, I think I agree with the council president. It's a great thing that those two items have been removed, because I had reservation, as I said, even when it was presented by another potential, I'll call it developer, in terms of the land contract issue. But nevertheless, my question is, because of the fact that those items have been removed, it appears to be somewhat of a different agreement, better. I'm sure that the essential terms are the same, but because of the fact that it's a little bit different, are you going to also bring that entire agreement back to council so that they can see it in its proper form, along with the parking agreement? Thank you.
Yeah, what the anticipation is, Attorney Sharp, is that we're working cooperatively with legal counsel for all of the moving pieces here. So you can imagine that there's attorneys for Mr. Stevens, and there's attorneys for his companies, there's attorneys for, and I'm an attorney too. There's too many attorneys, Sharp. Sorry, I hate to pick on both of us, but the anticipation is that this master lease agreement would definitively set forth one of the key elements of this. And so the original sale price that is allowing Dearborn Capital to purchase the two towers concurrently as we finish that global settlement agreement for $7.4 million, they're taking on the repair and maintenance obligations. And so because that's such a key piece of it, we had estimated that at $16.8 million. They're now getting reports actually from firms that the city used. They actually engaged the Desmond firm, which is one of the firms the city had used in the past. And those costs are now escalating past $17 million. And so everybody's in agreement that there needs to be a resolution specific to the lease agreement, because the lease agreement, it sets forth the rights and responsibilities they're at now. There's language in the purchase agreement, and I'll make sure I provide copies of all of this, including the closing schedules of how this got agreed to. There's language that says that there would also be a public-private partnership. We're working on a memorandum of understanding that would set forth what the expectations of the city would be within that partnership. And I think, Council President, that's what you're alluding to, as to how is this really going to work as we go forward. And so what we're doing to complete the global settlement is, remember, part of the reason we went into that very complex deal in the first place is we approved that on November 24th with a demanded closing date by Mr. Stevens on January 4th, with Thanksgiving and Hanukkah and Christmas and New Year's all in between. And so being able to negotiate these extended periods has allowed us to get rid of the negatives and get this clean. So what we're bringing back is an ask that the master lease for the garage, which has these rights and responsibilities contained within it, is what the resolution is bringing forward. So we're not going to amend the prior agreements, as that triggers a whole new round of review for everybody, not just on our side, but everybody else's. And so we're bringing back the lease agreement and closing in that closing schedule, saying that the addition of the co-borrowed loan and the land contract are simply not necessary. It's kind of like buying a house and you thought you were going to have to get a bridge loan to do it, and you realize that no, you have a way to close this without that, and so you just release the obligation of the bridge loan. So that's how we're proceeding.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but I would think that you still kind of need to, like, once again, like an incorporation by reference in terms of this is no longer applicable, blah, 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 but just so that council can know exactly what they're approving. Obviously, like I said, it's in the city's best interest to do it this way. I'm not saying that it's anything negative, but at the same time, I'm just thinking that council should know exactly what the final terms are across the board, aside from just the parking agreement.
I really welcome, Council President. I don't want to take, because I know Attorney Sharp is the legislative counsel, take her time, but I'd really like Ms. Sharp to work with you ahead of time to make sure that you're aware of how that is coming forward, so that if your council has questions that they're sending to you, that maybe you and I can work Friday or Monday and just make sure that if there are some preliminary questions, that we don't get right up to the date and we're asking each other. So if you don't mind, Council President, I'd like to steal some time from Attorney Sharp between now and then.
And I would appreciate that, but I think that will be great for you guys to work together on that, so we can get as much information as possible. I'm really adamant about having the final document on the 16th before you guys go to close anything without approval. Even if it's a good deal, we need to know what that is, because these are taxpayer dollars, and if they had to close before then, it wouldn't happen. So yes, working with Attorney Sharp, if she's amenable to that, I think would be great before next Tuesday. My only concern, and I haven't seen any agreements, and then I'll turn it over to my colleagues. My only concern is the length of the parking agreement. These people basically get the lease as it stood before, 2 50-year leases, which is 100 years, without any city council approval. So I want the next council people to be able to kind of determine their destiny from downtown. And so if there's a negotiation and working in a review process, I think that clause needs to be put in regardless of what they develop, to have something, if it's 10 years or 15 years, where they can kind of revisit, because parking garages only last 30 years. And if they're going to do MDOT in the future or whatever they're going to do, Dearborn might agree that they don't want the parking structure anymore. And so what happens at that point with the city? So putting that in would be helpful for it to be some kind of review language. Councilman,
Writing notes as I speak, Council President.
Councilwoman Miller, you had something?
Oh, I did not, President. I was just listening to Attorney Sharp, and I actually listened to him. I was in the portion of the term, but I would like to see the whole deal. I want to see the whole contract. Why can't it be amended? I mean, this is gonna be put on someone else maybe one day. So I myself, I just don't feel comfortable on the whole thing, and it should be all the wording should be put into the original agreement, you know.
And let's clarify, I'm not saying just amend the deal, I'm just saying that I think it should be brought before council, for council to have the final document. You know, and I'm not saying amending, because obviously you've already amended it, and you're going to say that, that's Attorney Gibb, I'm sorry, is going to say that, those provisions have been removed. But I'm just saying, I feel that it's only legal, like, you need to have that, like, council needs to know exactly what is approved. Thank you.
Right, so what I can do, Council President, what I intend to do is to provide a package that includes the execution documents of both the global settlement and the purchase agreement with Dearborn Capital, the closing schedules that indicate what all been agreed to on how this is going to close, that has the language of waiving or eliminating those extra complicating factors. I'll make sure that the council has all of those documents and a concise narrative of how all of that pieces together. And that way you can see how everything flows together. I agree with Attorney Sharp. That would present an entire picture of all of the documents that have led us up to this point. And then the lease will be a final document, as you've indicated.
Okay. Anybody else on council have questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Gibbs, if you can prepare that for next week and have, I guess, some kind of PowerPoint probably to go with it, that probably will be helpful, just to make sure you can explain it to me, so I can understand it. And then, Councilman Waterman?
Yes.
Yes, you had a question, your number just popped up on the screen.
Oh, did it? It's not so much a question as a statement, and maybe this might not be the right form, but it could be the right form. But I guess I have to get this off my chest. As it relates to the lawsuit, I am just truly heartened that a council person has made some unfounded allegations and is directed to all elected officials. So I feel that that's directed to me as well as other council members that sit on this honorable board. I'm sorry that the person left the meeting, but I find that just disheartening that they would make those kind of allegations. If they're going to make some allegations, then name people and not put us in the whole bucket, all of us in a bucket together, because when you say elected officials, you're speaking about all of us. And I have a problem with that, because now you're talking about my character.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Waterman, for that
You
statement.
know what, Councilwoman, I have to say, I agree with you that, you don't have integrity, you have nothing left as an elected official. So I do agree with that. I mean, if I'm gonna call you out, anyone know me, I'm gonna call you next. Just like,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, but if you say elected, then that counts for all of us. That wouldn't be me. I don't
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. That's all. That's on the person. You're entitled to do what you do as a respectful person. And so we all got our own respective district, but just say who. That's all. And or you're not gonna say anything. You're not gonna say who don't say anything. That's where I look at it. And so it just puts it all together, and it's not a broke bone in my body to work with my constituents. And I can only, you know, and I'm sure you say the same for you. So I do take offense to that myself. Because that's my question.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Miller. We're gonna move on to item number 10.
Concerned citizen. Dear Council, my public comment today is in regards to the Phoenix Center settlement. I recently read an article in the Open Press this past weekend stating the city bought the Phoenix Center for $19.2 million and that the city will sell the property to a company in Chicago for $7.4 million. It also states the city will co-sign on a loan with Dearborn Capital that's trying to get a loan from G2 Capital, which is also in Chicago. What person in their right mind would sell the property and lose $12 million on it? The mayor advocated for this deal to get it done. She approved a loss of nearly $12 million from the citizens must pay. Who is the mayor working for? The citizens of Pontiac or the company that bought it? Also, I did some research on T2 Capital, and this company has been dissolved in January 2021. Councilman Carter said no with his vote, and I see why he thinks there is racketeering and fraud going on. I'm extremely disappointed and shocked that the council approved this sale. This is corruption at its best. The mayor clearly lacks the leadership to lead the city in the right direction, and I'm looking forward to the citizens voting her out this November. The situation clearly needs to be investigated by the city council and or special counsel ASVP. The next one is from Tim Grimo. Dear council, my public comment is in regards to the Phoenix Center settlement. From Tim Grimo. In December, I sent the mayor a letter warning that the city had agreed to guarantee a private $6.3 million loan as part of the Phoenix Center deal. I urged the mayor to modify that agreement so the taxpayers would not be on the hook for $6.3 million. I also submitted a public comment about this at last week's council meeting. In the council's packet for tonight's council meeting, the mayor suggests that she's finally fixed the problem. Specifically, the mayor states the city is no longer required to be a co-borrower and guarantor of equity from T2, the equity fund affiliated with Dearborn Capital. The mayor really fixed this serious problem. That would be good news for the city and its residents. However, the mayor did not include any documentation, such as an amended agreement in the council's packet to support her assertion. I call upon the mayor to be fully transparent with the city council and residents by publicly disclosing all the latest documents for the Phoenix Center deal so that we can confirm if the problem has really been fixed. Next one is from Larry Jasper. Dear people of Pontiac, on Friday, the 5th, Natalie Broder from the Oakland Press ran a front page story about global settlement agreement and the lawsuit filed against the city. Larry Jasper and Councilman Pro Tem Randy Carter. The article was pretty good because it gave a basic outline of what is happening. But what it didn't state is the irreparable harm the city has committed against myself, my company, and you, the citizen. Today, the mayor wants you to believe that she has done great service for the city, but the exact opposite is true. It is really an illusion to make her more popular and let her continue to break the law. Here's why. My partnership proposal gives you, the people with equity interest in the Ottawa Towers, the parking structure with the amphitheater. This means your stock value in Omega Partnership continues to go up. The present ownership value would be between 10 to 20 million and pays money to you for each stock you own every 3 months. But there is more because it provides discounted telecommunication, streaming Wi-Fi, cloud hosting, supporting your city, its education, medical, entertainment, professional services, and local businesses, while the city itself will pay someone else. But if they use the service through our partnership, your checks get bigger every 3 months. Also, Omega is providing paid training and childcare to those high-tech and paying jobs. If you having a preference in Pontiac for those jobs, it uses the small local businesses and self-employed construction workers in the development. Finally, we are going to build a grocery and drugstore with prices like Costco. Local retail shops who have been affected by COVID-19 will be given a 50-50 lease agreement, and we will build out the space for them. This is great for Pontiac, especially if they don't have transportation. Buses come right to the site. So I ask you, why hasn't the mayor been working with Omega in your favor and putting Omega's E3 together? Because she is not working for you. It doesn't matter. Okay. It's actually the end of public